soon after those traumatic events. So some people didn't come forward. So that's an issue that came up since the period when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was doing its work. But it's not that there was never compensation given, or the state never attended to the issue. As to June 19th, I don't think the Claims Commission covered the period prior to October 83.
Okay, so just to be clear, they can still come forward now today?
No, the Claims Commission is now defunct. Yes.
Thank you. Beverly, you have another question? You can go right ahead.
Okay, so my other question is also for clarity on the Kawana Bay developers. Can you just tell us why they would be allowed to keep their passports?
All right, so when you say they, you probably need to clarify. So the site has been acquired from the main developer. The individual persons who invested in the development, which is the CBI development, would be persons who, as part of their investment in the development, would have acquired Grenadian citizenship. And so by virtue of that, the mere fact that the government has acquired the site doesn't deprive them in any way, shape, or form of their citizenship. If, for instance, you were someone was born in Grenada and you has a Grenadian passport and there was land that the government needed for public purpose, the government could acquire the land and pay you compensation. It wouldn't in any way, shape, or form impact your rights as a citizen of the country. So the acquisition of the site has nothing to do with the individual investors' citizenship in Grenada.
Thank you. We'd like to take some additional questions if we have any online at this point.
Can you say it again?
All right, we do have a question from Nancy McGuire. Nancy, you may go right ahead with your question.
Good morning, everybody. On the national heroes, I think you said between 3 and 5 national heroes. Well, would that include people that have already passed?
Yes, at this point there is no, it's more likely that it may include people who have passed rather than people who are living. But we have not, as at this point in time, settled upon the names that we may wish to ask the public to consider.
So how are you getting these names?
As the independence chairperson would have said, I'm not sure if you missed it, we indicated that there were several committees. Yes. That includes a historic committee. So they have been doing significant work researching and highlighting the contributions of various Grenadians. Obviously, as part of any award system, there would obviously have to be a criteria that is looked at, discussed, agreed upon, and perhaps even legislated. Because you will have to set up the necessary legal and policy framework that creates the concept of a national hero, that tells you what's the criteria for it, that tells you how it is to be awarded or conferred upon someone, and what, if any, would be the benefits that that person or the estate may benefit from having such a title. So obviously, as part of an entire policy, that will be rolled out.
Right. Dr. Crawford, do you want to respond as well?
Yes. There is a historic heritage and documentation subcommittee coming out of the National Organizing Committee. They have, in fact, done the research and prepared submission for consideration of a criterion for establishing who should be considered national heroes. They have also made some recommendations of names going as far back as our indigenous period. And so that is in the process. Of course, it will be followed up by consultation with the broader public for recommendations or consideration of those that's recommended. But the composition of that committee, we basically have noted historians and persons interested in heritage: Angus Martin, Gloria Payne, Oliver Benoit, social scientist, Nicole Phillip historian. So they have been doing extensive research on the history, and they have in fact prepared narratives on each of the recommended the persons that they have recommended as national heroes. Decisions have not yet been made, and that have to come after consultations, and I guess it will be released by then.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crawford. I think we have one more question. May I ask?
Oh, okay.
We have a question from Kendra. You can go ahead.
I don't think Nancy.
Nancy, you have one more question, Nancy?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to ask a question about, I think it was Orlando and mentioned renaming streets. I'm just wondering how that is happening. Like, because you think about the name of the street would reflect part of the history. So are we going to be just taking these names out, or how are we going to do that? Thank you.
That committee I spoke about, the Historic Documentation and Heritage Subcommittee, they have also done the research, and they have made a number of recommendations of basically reclaiming our heritage, reclaiming our culture. And so they have made a number of recommendations for sites and places, and so that should be renamed. They have also made the recommendation, and like that of the heroes, it has to be brought for consultation to the more general public. So they have already completed the research and done that work, and have compiled their recommendation and submitted their proposal to the National Committee. So we have to take it from there in consultation with the various parishes and other, at least so that others will have an input and can contribute to making that decision. So the work is done for both the national heroes recommendations and the identification of sites and places that should be renamed, and the suggested names. So the focus is on Grenada history, important people and events in the Grenada history, and that is the focus of the committee's work. How do we reclaim our heritage? How do we reclaim our and chart our identity as we go forward? So it's really looking inwards, taking care of our business, and ensuring that this is really the extension of the work to establish who we are as a people.
Thank you, and thank you, Nancy, for your questions. We'll take some more questions. We do have a question here. Kendra, you can go ahead, and we will take other questions.
Thank you. Well, another question besides the one I was going to ask just came up because of what you said. Our culture, our heritage. What is our culture and our heritage? Are we saying that we're now going to be documenting and celebrating everything for the last 50 years? This is the new culture and heritage of us as an independent people. Because when we talk about renaming streets, and so some of the street names and the monument sites and so on are named after people who have participated in and have been. It may not be pretty, but it's part of our heritage.
Yes.
The heritage part and then the culture part. And as far as I'm concerned, we are a multiracial society. So I'm a bit confused as to exactly what we're trying to do here. Can you explain it for me?
Sorry, I'm going to start with an example. Fort George, built during our colonial past, built by the sweat, blood, and tears of enslaved people. If we are saying we're celebrating our independence, if we're saying we're working towards self-determination, wouldn't it be more feasible? Wouldn't it spell better for our children to understand if we think of maybe someone in our past or somebody who would have contributed national significance to rename Fort George? It does not get rid of the history, but it causes us to focus. It causes our children, our students to focus more on our development, Grenada's future, developing our country.
If I may also state, we're not looking to rename everything. What we're doing is embarking on an exercise to objectively look at our history over the past couple of years, 50 years and pre, and to see where have we missed opportunities to define, as Dr. Crawford said, our identity, and to incorporate that into some of our architecture, our buildings, our streets, our monuments, so that it reflects not just a pre-colonialization period, but also post-colonization, post-independence period, to make sure that the heroes who would have done significant things during that period of the people are also reflected in our history, and that they can have public claim in key assets via naming conventions. So it's not an exercise to remove all the names of previous persons or previous sites, but to have an objective introspection and to ensure that it reflects all of our history and all of our people.
Thank you. One more question.
You would indulge me, please. On the Kawana Bay issue, the follow-up to what Ms. Telesford asked about the passports, I'm confused there again with your response, Prime Minister. The investors, the smaller investors, not the developers, the investors who got passports in exchange for the investments that they made under the Citizenship by Investment program, are they exiting? Are they being compensated and exiting the project as well? Are we getting this project totally and fully without any of the previous, the developer, the investors, everybody's out?
Yes, the simple answer is yes. When you acquire the property, you're acquiring the interest of anyone who has a property interest, and that would have included any of the investors who would have been granted a condominium interest in the property.
So they are being reimbursed the money they paid for the passport?
It doesn't work that way.
So explain it to me, please.
It's a property acquisition. Whatever money you made from an investment point of view is a risk that someone takes. If you, as a result of your investment, that's a matter between you and the developer. As a result of your investment, the developer would have contracted and would have deeded you a condominium interest or a unit interest in the property, then the acquisition would have acquired that. That's a property interest. And if any compensation is to be paid, it would be in relation to the property interest. But just like any other investment, if you take an investment, let's put it this way: whether or not the government acquired the property, anyone who had up to our acquisition invested in that property, what would they have had? An interest in a abandoned, closed down site. We can do an assessment of whether that's an investment or a loss. But essentially, what we've acquired is a property, and anyone who has an interest in the property would have an opportunity to present any claims for evaluation of their interest in the property and to be compensated accordingly.
So some people may decide we're going to keep the investment, we're staying in, that's fine too, and they continue to be.
No, I'm saying they can't decide whether they keep the investment. I'm saying the government has acquired the site. As a matter of law, we have that right, and having acquired the site, I'm saying what they have is a right to be compensated for whatever interest they might have had in the property. So I'm saying whatever investment, because I'm making the point that you could invest in something that doesn't actually have value. It's called a bad investment, right? You can buy something, you can spend $1 million for it, and then you try and sell it, and someone only wants to pay $50 for it. So what I'm saying is that whatever interest any investor has from a property interest perspective, based on the Land Acquisition Act, they would be entitled to be compensated.
Okay, so I'm asking about the citizenship, the implications for the citizenship that they got as a result of it.
Because I'm saying that the citizenship, or it's called citizenship by investment. I'm saying once you made the investment, whether the investment is successful or not, has nothing to do with that person's right to retain the citizenship. Because the government, the way it works is that they've acquired the citizenship, they're citizens of Grenada. And if the investment they made turns out to be an investment that doesn't ring true or is not successful, that's just a loss that they take. There is no guarantee, no underwriting any of the investments that individual investors make in the CBI program. We also have to recall there are two components to CBI. There's the property development ones, where people may invest in a particular property. And there's the National Transformation Fund CBI program, where someone simply pays the government $200,000 and acquires citizenship. They're not making any investment there in the sense of seeking to get a return from some particular property that they invested in. But arguably, you can see they're investing in Grenada because by giving $200,000 and acquiring citizenship, those funds are used for budgetary support, the funds are used for repayment of loans, the funds are used for government projects, as the case might be.
But that is separate. That's different from those who go under the investment component of the program.
It's separate from those who go under the investment.
You have the citizenship by investment and the national transformation donation aspect of it. And you said, Prime Minister, that you're still in negotiations with the developers. But do we have any indication yet as to how much all of this is likely to cost us? Are we crunching numbers and figuring out, because we must have figured out what.
I've indicated that we acquired the site for $22 million.
But you have said so.
Yes, I said so right to the commencement of
Yes.
$22 million.
Oh, I missed that.
$2 billion, and he also indicated that once that deal is finalized, I think we are talking close to October 15th. We will make that announcement in a further press briefing.
No, that's not separate. So I'm saying, so let me be clear in the event it wasn't heard. The site has been acquired. It has been acquired at $22 million. Right, and the government has made an initial payment towards that 22, and we anticipate concluding the payments by January or February of next year. Right, the developers I was talking about is someone who take over the site. As in, we are in ongoing discussions with developers, new developers, to take over the site. So that we can, in fact, put the site in the hands of someone who will develop it, complete the construction, and get it to a point where in the next 2 years or so we have a hotel that is open and functioning.
And will it be a PPP, or are we giving them a leasehold?
As I indicated, the intention will be to offer the property as a leasehold, so that the developer could, in fact, be in a position to raise the finance and complete the project.
And do can you tell the country a bit more on who are these potential investors that we are targeting?
At this point, I know. I think for not to, I want to get to a point. There's no point in giving the public speculative information, in the sense that the only developer that would matter is the developer that really we have a deal with.
Any Grenadians in the diaspora getting an opportunity to do this, or any Grenadians?
Any Grenadian who is interested in the property is in a position to obviously come to the government, and we are happy to discuss with them.
All right, thank you so much for the clarification. I'd like to ask if there's anyone else online who may want to pose a question like this to him. If not, we're going to give clarity to Ms. Beverly from GBN. So while my technical team gets that information for us, we're going to take a final question from GBN on the floor here. Go ahead.
Okay, so my question is on the issue of national security.
Sure.
There may be CARICOM nationals residing in Grenada who entered illegally. Some may or may not be involved in criminal activities. Are there any plans or special operations to find such people and have them return to their origin country?
And I'm not sure I can answer the question, because it's premised on may or may not be living here. I mean, if anyone enters Grenada illegally, then certainly the immigration authorities and police authorities will do what is required to make sure that they comply with our laws. I can't see off the top of my head that there are large quantities or any significant numbers of CARICOM nationals entering Grenada illegally. As you may be aware, we are actually promoting the free movement of people from within CARICOM. So you probably will have to really be a criminal to enter Grenada illegally from CARICOM, because it's the one, it's almost home. If you're from Trinidad or Guyana or St. Vincent, you can enter Grenada quite easily. But we certainly, I think, in light of the criminal activities that particularly homicides by firearms, no doubt we have a genuine concern that some of this may be perpetrated by persons entering the island illegally to commit the acts and then escaping. So that's part of the reason why we emphasize the need to beef up the resources of the Coast Guard to make sure that they can help with patrolling vulnerable spots on the island when it comes to the movement of potential criminals.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all who presented this morning. I believe it was a very, very informative session. I want to wrap up. But before we wrap up, I would like to ask the members of the head table and, of course, members of the National Organizing Committee to make some closing statements.
But given that recently there was this international noise about Grenada and the death of Josiah John D. Robinson, and some very high-profile people had gotten involved and seemed to suggest that there was a hate crime committed in Grenada. The police have solved the case in his wrap-up. I don't know if Prime Minister can just react to that situation, given that our good name, that the people of the Cove Grenada are very upset that our good name was so tarnished, and they believe that the results of the investigation has now sort of cleared our name from the Tyler Perry Yvette Noel show thing. So I don't know if you could. Thank you.
Well, we can certainly give the Prime Minister a moment, and then let's have the wrap up by the other members, and then of course, if the Prime Minister so desires, he can make statements on that issue. So, committee, you may go ahead, and then we're going to have Senator Claudia Joseph.
Okay, I just want to, on behalf of the National Organizing Committee, I want to invite the public to get involved, everyone, all of Grenada, all people, to get involved with the launch of our independence celebration. Remember, it's a launch. We want it to be big and impactful. So this is a special call to all of Grenada to get involved and come out and let us commemorate this very important and historic day, and the beginning and start of it will be a tremendous celebration that will extend for the entire Jubilee year. And so everyone will have an input, everyone will get an opportunity to participate, and we're really looking forward to seeing you on the 19th on the Carenage.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crawford. And also thank you to Gail Purcell, Secretariat, and Mr. Orlando Remain, member of the Organizing Committee. At this time, we'd like to hear from Attorney General, Senator the Honorable Claudia Joseph.
Thank you, Ms. Etienne. And just to follow on with the invitation given by the chair of the committee, it's going to be launched on the Carenage on the 19th. I told them to name the Carenage Independence Avenue, at least for the period. I hope they consider it favorably. And on Sunday, as we prepare to launch the celebration of our 50th anniversary of independence, on Sunday, the community of the Carenage will be embarking on a cleanup drive. And so this is my invitation to all of the Carenage people from the area. We like to say the wharf. When we say the wharf, we know it means everybody from Upper Lucas Street, Tantine, come around, not just the Carenage. So we are inviting all of you to come out and participate in the community cleanup of the Carenage area on Sunday. And if you can't engage in manual labor, just bring some refreshments. Drop it off by Allison Shaw, and be good. And secondly, if I may, Prime Minister, just to clarify for the listening public that the state of Grenada was sued for $111 million thereabouts US in the Kawana Bay dispute, and we settled the dispute for $22 million, less than a quarter of what we were sued for. And in the arbitration claim, there was not a claim in relation to the property as such, because the property was still owned by the True Blue developers. So in the settlement, we were able to get the property back for the people of Grenada and settle the arbitration dispute. So that encompassed the 22 million. Just so that people understand, the 22 million just did not only cover the value of the property. It was to settle all of the claims made against the people of Grenada or the state of Grenada that totaled $111 million. So I would say that was a good deal for us. And finally, I look forward to the public fully participating in the second round of consultation in relation to the minimum wages. I know a lot of people look forward with great anticipation to new minimum wages coming into effect in Grenada. So we want this to be the result of a truly collaborative and community effort where every single stakeholder and interested party is on board. So look forward to the consultations as we work to roll out the new minimum wages. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prime Minister.
Sure, thank you. Let me start by thanking all of the members of the 50th Anniversary Independence Celebrations Committee, those who are present with us, led by Dr. Crawford, and those who are not. It's a lot of work. It's volunteer work, and I want to highlight that, because to make the 50th anniversary events memorable, we clearly need all of Grenada to be involved and to be taking part and to volunteer in any way, shape, or form. And I want to re-emphasize, in particular, the parish activities, because clearly a lot of the national celebrations will inevitably happen in the parish of St. George and perhaps in the town of St. George. And that's why we really want to emphasize that the parish events, whether it's a monthly event or one big spectacular event, is important for the parishes, because we think each of our parishes have unique flavors, unique activities, unique cultural and historical perspectives that we want to emphasize and give the persons residing in those parishes an opportunity to really shine going forward. So the subcommittees in particular, who've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, I want to thank them as well for the tremendous sacrifice of their time and resources that, again, they're putting into this unpaid. We really look forward to the year's celebration, and we look forward to doing so with our friends and partners who have been with Grenada throughout the 50th years of our journey. And so we really do want to make the event a special one that is memorable. But it's also important for us to project as to